Hi, I'm Harold Lunt, and I've worked up a way here to make a really cool 108 using 108 pieces of orgonite. And this is arranged in a pattern that we call the seed of life. And the pattern basically looks like that. Okay, each intersection point counts and they total to 108. Now, what makes this particular layout really cool is that through Brian Besco at twistedsage.com, I have found the resonating length of ohm. It's almost 42 inches. It's 41.6 something, 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 something. It's very precise. So I have set the dimensions for this type of 108 to where the distances between any of these star points and the center and the other center and the other center all the way around all are multiples of this distance, so that the pattern will resonate with ohm. This is also the Mary Magdalene energy. So this and all of these, we were noticing as we put these 108s in, that even before they're finished, they're connecting with the other ones into a network, which will raise the consciousness of wherever this is affected. We have a 108, I don't know if this will show up well in this thing, down in Arizona. This is a person's full-size house. Here. This is 924 feet across. Okay, and it's set in this pattern. Now Carol noticed before we even finished, she was picking the energy up in Idaho from this down in Arizona.
Very cool. And
this again is set to this same ohm multiple. So when you put your 108 in to these dimensions, and I can size it to various different dimensions, it will tie into this network and be part of a large national global effort here. So that's the cool part, okay? So I print up a worksheet, something a lot like this, depending on the distance across the diameter of your circle that we want to work on, and I'll find a resonating length somewhere close to that. It probably won't be exactly that. This one is just slightly under 44 feet. It's 43.6 or 10, I don't know, it's almost 44 feet. We call it 44. So from there, we have all the angles and dimensions that we need to build this. Was this right side up? This was upside down, wasn't it? So for this reason, we use a transit. Now, all of you who passed plane geometry in high school can do this layout using arcs and diameters of circles. You can lay out all the essential points. You do the whole thing with a string and a string and a hammer and a nail. But we like precision, because the beauty of this particular dimension is that when you are on the dimension, when you are exactly on it, it resonates all by itself to the ohm frequency. You don't have to put your intention on it. You don't have to pray about it. You don't have to hope that you got it right. It will just do it, and it'll do it from now on. There's no batteries included. It doesn't need them. It just will sit there and resonate. Okay? So for that reason, I use a transit. And this is a surveyor's transit called a theodolite. And the beauty of it is that we can set a dimension out here. This is the center circle, the north circle. The center circle is here. And then to set the south one, I can just swing this around like that, and we aim that way, and it's on exactly the same line. Okay, nice. So this really helps symmetry in this, and it's all about symmetry. So where else do we go with that? Questions?
So this is my labyrinth that I built in 2009, and Harold and Carol have graciously agreed to come out. Hi, Carol.
Hi, dear.
and help install this 108 in my labyrinth.
So right now we have 1 point for the north cluster. Let's go back to the pattern and I'll explain that a little bit. So the transit is set in the center circle, the center right now. And we measured the distance out and we set the stake for the north circle. We flip the transit over and we'll come over here and pick the south one up. Then I change this transit to 60 degrees and I can pick these two up. And
So
then
it's
I go
very
to
easy to just get it very precise.
yeah,
Once
it's
you have
very, and
the
you get it exactly right. Then we rotate it to 120 degrees and it picks these two up. And that sets the centers for all of these. And then from there we do the center cluster. Then I usually go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
And I made 18 of my TBs with golden lemurians in them, and those are going to go in the center.
It'll pick up these 6 anchors, we call them.
Plus the 6 anchors around.
Plus the star in the middle.
So then those anchors, the golden lemurians and these anchors will kind of resonate out to the outer circles.
And they share these 2 anchor points with each of these other crystals.
Right, and the center point's going right in the center of my labyrinth.
Right. What we've noticed, or what I've noticed, is that when we start putting these in, when we get the third one done, the rest of the pattern is implied from those 3.
Oh, okay.
And it starts generating I figure about 70%.
The energy starts up already.
Yes, it starts up before you even get any of this rest of this done.
That makes sense. I've had that happen making orgonite.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I've had that making a CB where it's not even half done and it's already talking
And
to
it's
me.
already talking to
Yeah.
you. And that's what these do.
So.
And by the time you get halfway through this, you'll start feeling it. It'll just like,
And
whoa, there
how
it
many
goes.
have you done? How many of these have you done so far?
This is my 5th one.
And what's your goal with? Are you going to be going out and doing more
I'll
of these?
be doing a lot going out. Not sure how that's going to work. We're kind of letting this develop and manifest as it needs to. I have visions of a very large scale one down in Kansas, which will be the heart of America. And I think that's an important one. Mm-hmm. And so I would like to see something happen there. But other than that, I'm not worried about it. I'm going to have more work than I can do.
It'll
So-
all unfold the way it's going to unfold.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's going to do it just the way it needs to happen.
And can people contact you if they're interested in doing one?
Yes. Right now they can contact through myhealinggarden.net. That's Carmen's website, but she's going to have a page up dedicated to this. What I plan on doing for smaller circles, like 20 feet, maybe even up to 38 feet, I'm going to have sheets of plastic that are 20 feet wide, and it'll either half a pattern or all of the pattern on it. And we'll mark it with a felt tip marker, and you just lay that out on a north-south line and then put orgonite where the markers are.
Cool. So this
So-
is something people could buy from you and do.
Yes, and we will. That's a winter project. Haven't done it yet, but it's simple. I'll lay it
Something
out
to
in my
keep in
garage,
mind.
and then we'll have a master template. Then we'll just generate them as many as we need as we go.
Great.
So this will let anybody get in on this network and get it built up. The main thing, the first prominent thing I noticed in doing this work was the period of time between when I thought about something until it manifested got real short.
Cool.
So
Be careful what
be
you
careful
think
what
about.
you wish for.
Yeah, which is always true. But
Yeah.
now it's happening more quickly. Well, great, Harold.
So
This is wonderful. Thank you.
that's the start.
So here's the orgonite I'm preparing for the 108 project. I just got these strands of orgonite chips from my local bead store. The chips are nice because they're not that expensive to get a strand, and a lot of little pieces come in a strand, so I can do a couple hundred TBs with these strands. So what I got here was clear quartz for just overall great gemstone, very clearing, very high vibration. Tiger eye helps you avoid your enemies, be invisible to your enemies. Hematite for grounding. moonstone for the divine feminine, rose quartz for the heart, and along with peridot for the heart. These are a heart healing combination. Rhodochrosite is also a heart stone, and it's one of compassion. It's not only love for yourself, but love for others. Amber is ancient knowledge and a very warm stone. I've got jade for abundance and health. Emerald, also heart stone, also abundance and health. Sunstone is the male, the divine masculine, and leadership and warmth. Lapis, which is a truth and vision stone. And snowflake obsidian, which is a great protective stone. And smoky quartz, which is a great protection and grounding stone. I'm also going to put in some ground up danbrite. I've got some danbrite chunks that flaked off and ground up, and I'll put those in too. So this is the way I make my orgonite. I put the gems in first in the very top. So they'll be on the very top. And then I just put in a little bit of metal like that. And then I'll pour the resin. I'll do that little bit of metal. I'll pour the resin, I'll let it soak in there really good. That way you get a smooth top that doesn't have any craters in it. And then after I've poured a little bit in every muffin tin, I'll go back, put more metal in, and then fill up the rest with resin. And this is what Don would call field orgonite, which it's not going to come out real pretty, it's not going to be clear, it's not going to be shiny, it's not going to be sanded, but it works perfectly well. And he also was always keen to point out that you don't have to use all these gemstones in field orgonite. I'm just doing this because this is for the 108 project and I want the particular properties of these stones. And I did use my intuition to pick them out, and then I dowsed to make sure they all wanted to be together. But for just regular orgonite, tossing out at cell towers, tossing in water, you can just use regular old clear quartz, our best friend, which is, you don't even have to buy the chips. You can find some quartz on the ground and smash it up. It's no fun really smashing quartz though, so I like to buy the chips. But for regular orgonite, I could even do just quartz crystal for this 108. I just happen to really enjoy picking gemstones, and I like the stones that speak to me and have a particular purpose, and they'll be really powerfully enhanced by the energy of the 108 configuration. So I'll be pouring orgonite when it is a little bit warmer tomorrow, and we'll go from there. I forgot to mention that I also put tobacco in our orgonite to honor the Native Americans, because in the valley I live in, they were pushed out of here. They were forced march up north and lost their homes, and so we just put the tobacco in as a thank you, as a gift, as a kind of a shout out. We love you. I just use loose tobacco, and don't have to use a lot. I just sprinkle a little bit and kind of say a prayer while I'm doing it. My own kind of prayer. Just wanted to mention that. If you, really anywhere you live, there's probably been some indigenous person that was pushed off the land, so it's always a good idea to honor them. This is just a quick orgonite tutorial while I'm making the orgonite for my 108. This is how I start out, as I showed you before. I've got my crystals in the bottom. I put a little metal on top. I put my tobacco on there. And then I pour, as you can see, I pour a little bit of resin and let that soak down through the metal so that the top becomes a smooth top of resin. Then I add a little more metal to fill up to the top of the muffin pan. You don't want to pack that down. If you pack it down, the resin's going to have trouble seeping through there, and you're going to end up with holes in the middle and stuff that kind of falls off the side. So you just fill it up to the edge, and then if it kind of burbles down, you can always put a little more metal in the top at the end. Then you fill up the rest of the way with resin, and you can take a stick and just kind of poke the metal bits in. It doesn't matter so much on this project because these are going in the ground. But that's how easy it is to make orgonite. I mean, this is not a hard process. You just have to have the muffin tins, the resin, the metal, the crystals, and some gloves, and ventilation. It's really, really easy, folks. You can do it yourself. So here's my first batch of finished orgonite for my 108. Just wanted to give you a couple more tips. Using a very cheap pitcher from the grocery store is a great way to pour. Always have a stir stick on hand and some place to set it. I always have Dixie cups on hand, paper cups, because if you have leftover leftover resin in the pitcher and you don't have anywhere to put it, you can toss a crystal and some metal in a paper cup and put the rest of the resin in and make some very, very just plain Jane TBs for the field. So that's what I'll use those for something else. I've got maybe, I don't know, 6 or 7 of those. I kind of underestimated the number of TBs I should have prepared. And just to let you know, the 2 gallons of resin made 72 TBs plus 7 of these. So if you want to estimate, probably 80 TBs out of 2 gallons of resin. That's my basic formula that I'm using. Also, you can spray some vegetable oil in the muffin tins to make them release a little bit easier. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I usually end up having to bang on the back of the muffin tins with a sledgehammer to get them open. You generally want to have temperatures of at least 40 degrees to pour so that the catalyst and the resin work together and set up. I'm just skirting the 40 degrees here. We're having a cold Montana October. You can use a little extra catalyst if it's cold. You can use a little less catalyst if it's warm out. If you're in 70, 80 degree weather, you don't need as much catalyst. So I'm hoping these set up okay. I'm going to leave them overnight and come back and pour another batch tomorrow. And the 108 project is starting on Monday, and we'll go from there. A couple more orgonite tips that I thought of as I'm making my second batch here. Try not to overfill the muffin tins. As you can see, I got most of my levels a little below the lip. If you pour it above the lip, it's much harder to get the TBs out. They won't release. So you can see on this one, I kind of overshot the lip there. So just go slow, pour carefully, and take your time. And you've got 10 or 15 minutes before the resin starts to really set up. In cold weather, you've got a little more time. So the other cool thing I did on this batch was I put golden lemurians in 18 of these. And those 18 TBs are going to be the ones that go in the very center of the 108, which was a suggestion from Harold. So yay, that'll be fun. So just a couple tips and tricks we're doing on planting these TBs. Harold and Carol have marked all the spots where the TBs go with these flags. And what we've been doing is, before you pull the flag out to plant the orgonite, you take 2 twigs and you kind of do 90 degrees on, so you know where the center goes. So even after you pull the flag out, you can see where the center of the TB should be. And then you'll dig your hole, and then you'll make sure when you put the TB in that the center is right here on these 2 axes. So it's a little tip and trick.
Down, there's a rock.
Of course.
The minute the stake hits the ground, I can hear the hum. And then the closer I get to where it's supposed to be, the depth, I think it's the depth of the TB. You can feel it hum right into the center of the body.
And this is just with
this is just marking
not
it
even
out.
a dozen
it's
stakes.
not even putting the orgonite in.
Yeah, so the intention of
it's
what's
creating
happening
the
is already...
future.
Yeah.
You
it's
know,
really cool. And it could be a high pitch, and then all of a sudden it gets the right depth, and it just becomes this really nice hum.
Nice.
Let's do that.
What do you think? Is it a good one?
It's a good one. Well, your labyrinth is wonderful too.
Thank you.
It was like I could move through the layers of whatever I was working on, as it different positions in the labyrinth would let me work on that very easily, and the 108 was like giving me a boost too.
Nice.
So it was very nice.
It has a very good feeling.
Yes.
Thank you, you guys.
Thank you.
Harold and Carol, my buds.
All right.
Signing off from the
You
labyrinth.
want me to take this